Alright YouTube, so I'm back with part 2 here. So I had decided after removing my alternator to go ahead and record installing the replacement now that I have it. So I had this one swapped out under warranty after I took it out. So this is a new Denso, you see that alternator, which I do recommend on Hondas and Toyotas, especially going with the Denso brand. They are a little more expensive, but they are well worth it. This is a 2010 Honda Accord with a 3.5 liter V6 automatic transmission. So I'm gonna go ahead and start putting this in. One thing you do have to do from the old one is transfer this bracket here. You got to remove it off the old alternator, put it on this new one. I left it loose because I got to position this over to the cylinder head before I bolt it down and make sure I got the right angle. So we're going to start here by dropping this in. Let me move this wire harness out of the way. Alright, so what you're going to do is you're going to get this end of the alternator that has a hole through it. You're going to line this up, down, you get down in here, right in that bracket there. It's going to go right in between there. And it's going to be a tight fit, so you're probably going to have to tap it on like a rubber mallet or your palm of your hand to knock it in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. I'm probably not gonna be able to film this. I'm gonna try my best there. Move that out of the way. Be careful putting this in to not damage the radiator fins. You don't want to rub against the radiator. Just going to position that in there. Not in the bracket, so I'm going to have to pause this video and use both hands. Alright, so I'm back. I got it in there, positioned pretty close to where it needs to be. It does take a lot of wiggling and rocking and prying to get it in there where it needs to be. I knew it was going to take a minute, so I put it on pause so I wouldn't have to make you wait through that. So it's pretty close to where it's going to be right there. Now I'm going to try to start this lower bolt, which is the longer bolt that has a 14mm head. It's this bolt here. So we're going to insert that. It's going to be, I don't know if you can, I get a better angle here. So there's a hole right there on the left side of the alternator pulley. You can see the hole just barely. I'm going to put the bolt in through there, make sure it goes through the alternator. So I'm going to put it back on pause again and do that real quick. Alright, I'm back. I did want to show you a better angle now. I got the bolt started in here. That's the hole it goes into. Right now it's not lining up with the alternator, the hole in the alternator bracket. So what you got to do is just push on that and just wiggle that alternator around until you get it to push through, so you can start the threads on the opposite side. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that on hold and struggle with that for a minute. Alright, so I'm back with that. I got that in. What I actually had to end up doing, you can see the bolts in. You can see the head of the bolt down there by the alternator pulley, just sticking out a little bit, hitting the belt. I actually had to pull up a little bit. I had it down in there too far. So that was fun. Now I'm going to go ahead and start this bolt now. I got to get the threads. You don't want to cross thread this bolt. Let's show you what I have here. I have a 14mm socket with a little short extension just to make it a little bit longer. I'm going to use this. This right here allows me to grab this in and twist it to get a little leverage on it. I'm going to start the threads that way. Snug it down, and then I can do the rest with the ratchet. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Alright, so I got that lower alternator bolt started and snugged up by hand. It is a little tricky. You just got to push pressure on it and keep twisting it, just trying to start those threads, and wiggle the alternator a little bit if you have to. And it does take a little bit. It is a little tricky, but once you get it started, it'll go right in. Some people would use an air ratchet on that. I don't like starting bolts, threads with an air tools, just because if it crosses, it does damage. It's too late. It's not too bad on a boat like that because it is kind of tapered. So now I'm gonna put the top bolt on here, and I left this bracket loose, and I'll show you why. To move it around because I'm gonna need to position it in line and move this alternator back and forth like this because it's pivoting on that bottom bolt. And I'm gonna get that started and get this tightened up before I go back and tighten down the bottom one completely. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this bolt here. So the little short one, it's got a 12mm head. I'm gonna feed it through that bracket and right into the cylinder head right here, just like that. I'm gonna go ahead and do that because I'm gonna need both hands. So I'm gonna put it on pause. Alright, so I'm back. I got that top bolt here. I got my little extension, the socket. I'm gonna go ahead and snug that down by hand. So that's snug there. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tighten these two top ones, the one I'm right here, the bolt going through, and then I'm gonna tighten the bracket going to the alternator itself. The little bolt underneath this bracket that you can't see is hidden right down here by my finger. Comes out right here, the threads do. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten those two, and then I'm gonna go back down and tighten the one on the bottom.